Go.
Okay, here we are again on Sunday STEM, and we're doing the second session on digital colors. The reason we're talking digital colors is that most things today are going to demand a knowledge of digital colors. And when I say most things, I mean things as simple as Microsoft Word, as simple as video editing, as simple as photography editing from the days gone by. When you do it in the digital world, if you go in Microsoft Word, next time you open it up, go up there to fonts. Click on fonts and it'll ask you what kind of font you want. You might want a font that looks like German or a font that looks like script, because you can't write very well, so a computer will write better than you do. And so on, and it will ask you the size you want, and then it will come to the colors. And it will have usually a color picker. Color picker is made for the point and shoot camera people. You pick your color, but to pick that color next Saturday or next Sunday at STEM again is almost impossible. There's millions of colors and you've got to pick it with your eyeball. That's almost impossible. So what we've done is move from the old world of painting, which is what we call a color wheel. So all painters in the past had to do all this thing with their brain, move it around, take the wheel, move it around and look at the different colors, how they change. Put it on red, and it says add blue, and it'll show you what color you got. Add this, it'll show you what color you got. So you can do it with your eyeball if you're a painter, and you take your palette, and you put a paint here, you mix it with the color wheel, and you say, I want that to color black. I want this to color pink. I want this skin color. So then you dab it and you paint things pink. We went through a presentation on how to 3D hand paint models and so on. So now we're going to go through the world of filaments, how to make your models different colors. We've written a book on Amazon called Digital Colors for Astronomers. In astronomy now, this is mandatory. You identify your stars and different things in space by their color spectrum. Just like the camera identifies your face so it knows who you are with the same type of algorithms. So what we went over last week is this circle. So let's make the circle again. Here, make the circle. Give me these back. Now we're going to do this in a digital format. And they do have this circle for the analog world, but it's totally different. So your memory devices are quite a bit different. And then you make a triangle with a point down here and a triangle with a point up there. This is what I call the magic circles. The 10 magic circles I have that we teach for electromagnetic spectrum. This is for the light spectrum. We have one for sound also. Okay. Now, we went over this before, and it's already up on the internet. There are videos up there from classes gone by. The last class, I think the date is up there, was August of last year, so you can see it on, so I don't have to keep repeating. So what we're talking about, in the digital world, you have to learn digital numbers. You have to learn binary, which is all zeros and ones. A couple weeks we'll start working on electricity, which is that, which is on or off. So everything that takes electricity that you see with your eyes has only got a 0 or 1. So that's very complicated. So we talked about nibbles, we talked about bytes, we talked about bits, and we talked about packets. Okay, so this is RGB, red, green, blue. Red, green, blue. So now, if you take that knowledge that we had before, okay, of a byte or nibble or whatever, what we're really talking about now probably is going to be 8-bit and 24-bit color. Okay, so we're talking about a nibble. But here we have to add to the nibble. You remember the nibble was 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, made a byte. So drop this one off and you have a nibble. So what we're talking about, the use of a nibble. This is also called an octet in the computer world. 8 zeros and ones. RGB. So most things, I told you binary, you've got to get this in your head too. What is binary? Binary is 2. So you're going to have to know this, and you should know it, hopefully by now, in your head. 2, Haley, I'm going to have you finish it. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. Can you go from there? No? Okay, work on it. You've got to get it up to 1024. Okay? So next one is 256. We went over the last week where hexadecimal, which you're going to be working in digital, starts with a 0. So now you've got a major problem. You've got one part of the brain has to work here, digital, decimal, one part in hexadecimal. Okay? You have to drop 1. So 256 now, write that down. 256 is the number. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, what? 32, 64, 128, 256. That you're going to have to know well. Because when you start working with this concept of on and off, you still work in the analog world. In other words, this house is 78 degrees. If it's 90 degrees, it'd be too hot for you. If it's 110, it's way too hot. 180, you probably will melt. Okay? This is where you have to start learning temperatures too. Fahrenheit and Celsius. Okay, so all these systems in the analog world are going to be decimal, 0 to 100. So water boils at what? 240, 280, something around there. It freezes at what? 32? 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. The back of that book has all these equations probably for it that you can look it up in a hurry if you need it. And you will need them in a hurry. So now, most of the stuff that we have worked with up to now, in painting, in modeling, has been RGB. Okay? RGB is this. Display. Colors that come to you. Comes from a light back here to you. Okay? Then you have the color that comes from that light ball here back to your eye. That's reflected. Reflected. So you have two kinds of lights you have to deal with. Transmitted and reflected. So in the world of print, it's been around for years, so you can't violate it. In the world of print, when you buy a printer, my 3D printer now, for printed lithopanes, has cyan, magenta, and yellow. Okay? Paper, newspaper, magazines, textbooks are all printed. When you go down to Office Max and buy the toner, you don't want red, green, blue. You want cyan, magenta, and a fourth one. That's another thing we probably won't go into a lot today. The constant, number 4. Number 4 is either white or black. So let's take this nimble. So no light. What would no light be? All you got to work with is zeros and ones. What would all the light be? In other words, you're down here where you got no light, it's black. That's black. You're up here where you got all the light, that's white. That's 255 or 256, depending on where you're working at. So here we're talking about 255. So now we went over this last week in decimal. It's 255, really 256, but we're using computer language. So now, if you want 255 in hexadecimal, hexadecimal is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I would write that down. So you got a 0, so there's no 10. There is no 10 in hexadecimal. So now from 10, you're going to go up to 16 hexadecimal, and it's A, B, C, D, E, F. A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so now let's use it. No color. You have RGB, no color, black. 00 space, 00 space, 00. Got it? And then we might throw in a fourth one, but we're not going to do that today. That may be called hue, tint, all kinds of things. It's a constant. Okay, then for printed, we're going to throw in this cyan, magenta, and yellow. Cyan, magenta, and yellow. So now let's go back here to the RGB system. White, all colors would be FF space FF space FF. If you put that in a digital system, that is 255 0 255 0 255. And under there, you're going to take FF is 16 times 16. So put 16 times 16 equals 256. So that's FF. So that you must know. So red is, write down, red equals FF 0000. All we're going to do is move that over to green. Green is 00 FF 00. Relatively easy. This is still really middle school math. Okay, blue, RGB, get that in your head, RGB. Okay, blue, 0000 FF. Or 0000 255. all that's up here, if you copy this down. Okay, so now, I don't want to spend a lot of time on cyan, magenta, yellow, but I want you to understand that is pretty much the same here. The only thing is you're going to drop one color. So one color is always going to have a 0. So it may 255, 2550, or 2550, 255. So you're always going to have 255 and 10 in the cyan, magenta, and yellow. All this is explained, by the way, in much greater detail for scientists and astronomers in this book that we published. What we're not going to go through with the younger generation is what we call color gamuts and color spaces. This is one color space, and we're really talking about the one that's used now mostly by computer and TV people, which is 2020. The first color space or gamut came out the year I was born, 1931. So here's this color wheel, and you can put this in your notebook. And again, you can use that as a reference, because you're going to see very quickly here, this gets very complicated in this new world.
Serena's here.
Huh?
Serena is here.
Okay. Let's notice that my music student is here. So we'll stop here and move into music. But before we do, I want to give Haley a job, and she'll come with me. So